Hey, welcome. So, today we are tackling a massive idea. Seriously, it's an ancient concept that might just be one of the most mind-bending things you've ever heard about what it truly means to be human.
I mean, it's the big one, right? Why are we here? What's the point of it all? Well, an early Christian text gives an answer that's, it's pretty stunning. It suggests that our ultimate purpose is to become God. Yeah, you heard that right. So let's unpack what that could possibly mean. All right, to get our heads around this, we're going to break it down into 4 parts. First, we'll look at where we came from, the divine blueprint. Then we'll talk about life as a journey toward God. After that, we'll get into the how, the path of divinization. And finally, we'll look at the end game, our ultimate destination. So, with an idea this big, where do you even start? Well, this text argues that to know where you're going, you have to first understand where you come from. And that origin story, it starts way before we were born, with a concept called the Logos.
Okay, so what is the Logos? Think of it as the divine mind of God. It's kind of like the source code for all of reality, the one single overarching reason that contains the origin and the cause of literally everything. It's the one great idea that holds all other ideas. Now, this is where it gets really personal. That one big logos isn't just a single block. Inside of it are countless individual principles, or logi. So think of it this way. Every planet, every tree, and yes, every single one of us has our very own logos, a unique, perfect, pre-existing idea of who we are that exists forever in the mind of God. So here's the key takeaway from this first part. Your truest self, your most perfect potential, has always existed as a unique thought in God's mind. Your life, then, isn't some random accident. It's the unfolding of your own divine reason for being. It's your personal blueprint. Okay, so if we all begin as this perfect idea in the mind of God, then what is life all about? Well, according to this text, life is all about motion. We are always moving. The big question is, which way are we moving? Toward that divine blueprint or away from it? The text actually says that we are created subject to motion. What that means is we're fundamentally beings in process. We're always moving from our beginning, which is in God, toward our end, which, you guessed it, is also God. You could say our natural default setting is to journey back to our own divine source. But, and this is a huge but, it's a voluntary journey. We have free will. We can choose what's called the upward movement, actively moving toward our origin, toward what's better. Or we can choose to flow down, to abandon that origin and turn toward something lesser, basically moving toward a state of non-being. And that's a choice we're making all the time. You know, this all sounds pretty amazing and profound, but it brings up a really obvious question, doesn't it? If this journey is our whole purpose, how do we actually do it? How do we consciously choose that upward path and kickstart this whole transformation? Well, the answer to that question, the practical how-to, is really the heart of this entire idea. This process of transformation actually has a name. It's called divinization, or sometimes Theosis. This is the actual path that a person takes to be fundamentally changed.
So what is divinization exactly? Well, it's a process where someone, through a combination of divine help, what's called grace, and their own free choice to give up their self-will, becomes a participant in the divine nature. Now, what's really important here is that you don't stop being human. It's more like you become so united with God that His nature starts to work through you. We can actually break this path down into 4 basic steps. It all starts with that voluntary surrender of our own ego. That then allows us to start shaping our life to match our true divine blueprint, our personal logos. And as we do that, we slowly become an instrument for God's nature, which ultimately leads to a complete union with God. I know this can all sound really abstract, but the text gives us this absolutely fantastic analogy to help us picture it. Imagine air being totally filled with sunlight. Or think about a piece of iron in a forge getting so hot that it glows and is completely penetrated by the fire. And right there, that's the crucial point. The iron doesn't stop being iron, right? It keeps its own nature, but it takes on all the qualities of the fire, the heat, the light, the glow. In the same way, a person who is divinized doesn't stop being human. They're still themselves, but they become, incandescent, completely filled with the very nature of God.
So, this incredible journey of transformation finally brings us to our ultimate destination. What does that end state even look like? What does it feel like to become, as the tradition calls it, God by grace? The texts describe a state that's almost beyond what we can imagine. We're totally enveloped in God's presence. Our knowledge becomes complete. We finally return to our origin, like a perfect picture returning to the thing it was a picture of. And this state is just pure spiritual joy, a place where there's literally no room for any memory of sorrow. This quote here just sums up the beautiful paradox of it all. We don't get erased or absorbed. A person will remain wholly man, completely themselves, but at the very same time become wholly God in their entire being, all because they're filled with the incredible grace of God. This experience is so transformative, it's echoed in this really famous line from St. Paul, which the text itself actually points to. I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. It's about that shift where the driving force of your life is no longer your small separate self, but this huge divine presence acting within you and through you. So, in the end, yeah, this is a massive, ancient, and deeply complex idea. But it really leaves us with just one big thought-provoking question. If our ultimate potential is this profound, to be united with the very source of reality and become incandescent with the divine, what does that change about how we see ourselves and each other, and maybe even the small choices we make today?